Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? I hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, this will be a swift video, swiftish, and it's kind of a response to people asking me about a certain genre of movies, and there's a movie coming out this week, and there's one coming out next year. And they're two different wings of the same genre. The kaiju genre. Big monsters and rampaging beasts and very Japanese, of course. Is it kaiju? Have I got that right? See, this is the problem, folks. This is the problem. I'm not a fan. I'm not. Now, this week, you've got Godzilla Minus One. No idea what that means. Godzilla Minus One. But I've seen the trailer for it and I thought, yeah, that looks really good. But the people who've been getting in touch with me have not been talking about Godzilla Minus One. They've been talking about the Godzilla King Kong crossover. Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, which is coming out from Legendary, next year, 2024. And I've got a lot of friends who are massively into these movies and the Monsterverse, the legendary Monsterverse which has been created. And I've said on the channel many times in the past when talking about King Kong, because I love King Kong. King Kong to me is the uber monster of all time. And 1933 King Kong, I've done a commentary for it. I've covered it a lot on the channel. I adore it. It's a masterpiece. King Kong 76, I adore it. It's a massively flawed masterpiece. But I've covered that a lot as well. Then you got Peter Jackson's version, which I loved. And then kind of in the last couple of years, I've kind of like, oh my God, it's too overwrought. Every single thing that's in the original movie and script is massively stretched out to the point where, with elastic band, you get elastic band, it goes beyond its elasticity limit and it becomes flaccid, loose and pathetic. Well, I'm afraid that now I find Peter Jackson's version, even the theatrical cut, is it's just too laborious, it's too much. I still love it, but it's not hitting the high notes like it once did when it first came out, and then the extended cut came out. It's not doing it for me so much these days. But 76 version, I adore, and 1933 is par excellence, and always will be. Then you have the Japanese thought, well, hang on a minute, you bombed our cities, you brought atomic radiation to our shores, and you killed us off from World War II. And look what happened. Gojira, or is it Gojira? Godzilla, a fire-breathing, atomic radiated, mutated lizard, lays waste to Japan numerous times and encounters all sorts of other monsters. Mothra, Mecha Godzilla, a robotized version of Godzilla, and oh god, everything. There's so many. This franchise, the overall Godzilla franchise, Gojira, was it Gojira? I never can work it out. It's something like 50 to 60, maybe even 70 movies. They made tons in the 50s and 60s, Toho Studios, and it's monster suits and little miniature villages and miniature tanks and stuff. And then American versions with they draft in people like Raymond Burr to just to make it marketable to American or Western audiences, and they spawned a huge genre, the kaiju genre of giant monsters, and and a cult following the world over. as I say, I've got many mates who are massively into even the old Toho Studios ones, and yeah, I can see the charm. A lot of us are old enough to have had the fantastic cinema books and tomes, a pictorial history of the horror cinema, and Alan Frank and Dennis Gifford and many other people, history of sci-fi movies. All these books, these big old books, I've got them all. They're a bit dishevelled now, but one of them in particular, which I'm looking under here as if it's going to be here, because it's only now I'm talking about it. I should have brought it down and put it down here so I could show you. It has a huge chapter on the Godzilla movies, the original Godzilla movies, and it even has transcripts of the dialogue, the actual, like Monster Island and all this sort of stuff. And when I was a kid reading these, I thought, wow, these look amazing, and all black and white stills. And when I finally caught up with someone, I just thought, Jesus Christ. I'd rather watch Michael Bentine's Potty Time. It was a kids' TV show, a very anarchic one during the 70s. And I'd rather watch that with its beleaguered special effects and hand puppets and stuff than watch this tripe. And but I still respected people that were into these movies. And then during the late 70s, 80s, it kind of drifted out, and everyone was into splatter and body morphing effects and all that, like, and Change Your Heads, American Werewolf, Reanimator from Beyond, Day of the Dead, Evil Dead, tons of gory prosthetic effects, and it was in-camera stuff. Not a lot of miniature work anymore. You'd had all the Ray Harryhausen movies, of course, which I adore. I've covered many of those on the channel, and then was it in the 90s that Roland Emmerich come out with his Godzilla? And F. the Wild and his dog despised it. Matthew Broderick, that guy does the voice from The Simpsons. I've got his name now. And it weren't very good. It was kind of a hybrid of Godzilla and Jurassic Park, because Godzilla laid some eggs and had some babies. And thing is, folks, it has got a terrific scene which no one ever remarks about. They always just go, oh, that Godzilla one, Emmerich's one, oh, shite. But the rainy New York and Godzilla's running around through the cityscape, hiding behind skyscrapers, I thought it was a great idea. And you've got these attack helicopters coming in, and they're buzzing around and flying through, and they're firing rockets and heavy machine gun fire. And he's running. He comes through a building and takes one of these helicopters down, and then this one helicopter one helicopter crew is still buzzing around. No sign of him, can't see him anywhere. There's rain coming down, and the camera pans up above, and the rotors are going like that, and Godzilla just comes up and takes it down. I thought that was class. That was the sort of image which the Meg and the Meg 2 on the posters try to mimic, that sort of thing, which, as you know, in those movies, that really doesn't happen. So I'll give Emmerich's Godzilla, applaud it for that. But so Kaiju stuff, Peter Jackson again, the Pacific Rim movie. I didn't like it. It's just not my thing, folks. And well, Cristiano Dior, good friend of mine, good friend of the channel, and Jonathan Wood, you've both got on to me today, and I've had other messages via other means, and people asking me about what you think about the forthcoming in the Monsterverse, the Kong X Factor, Godzilla X Factor Kong, the New Empire. What do you think about that? Because the trailer dropped, and I'd seen reviews of Godzilla Minus One, and I thought, that's getting universally unbelievable, great, off the scale reviews. Okay, so I'm interested in that a little bit. Something I'm not asked about normally, but that looks quite good. And then people are saying, watch this one for Empire, Godzilla, X Factor, Kong, coming out next year, and people seem to be, as I say, people who've got on to me are really, really saying it's fantastic. It looks amazing. They're super, super hyped, stoked and excited for it. Well, look, I don't mean to offend anyone, because whatever you're into, you're into. And so long as it's not paedophilia or, Islamic jihadism, then fine. But it doesn't hurt nobody, then it's okay by me. And especially movie genres and movie franchises, if you love them, you love Scream, I'm happy for you. I did. I don't anymore. But, it's just one of those things. You're either into it or you're not into it. And, I watched the trailer, and I did not like it at all. This is for the Legendary Films version coming out next year. And, oh my God, what the hell is happening there? There is a scene there of Godzilla and King Kong, because they're in the hidden earth, the hollow earth, whatever the hell. Whenever they sent Kong last time in I don't care. I just don't care. But you've got Godzilla on one side and you've got Kong on the other, and the two of them are running in slow motion. It's like a fucking scene from Baywatch, and they're running like that, obviously heading towards whatever the new monstery adversary villains are. And it's adhering to the thing like, well, you two are enemies, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So if you and me can team up together and take these guys down, which is a throwback to Toho Studios movies, where Godzilla would have smackdowns with other monsters, and he'd team up with other ones as well, to take down these other bad guys. It's like it's almost like a cross between like the Mexican wrestling movies, which they mingled wrestling, masked, fatty, blobby warriors with monsters, vampires, werewolves, witches, warlocks, and they fight against them. There's a name for that genre, which I've now obviously conveniently forgotten, but it's similar to that sort of thing. And again, it's also like a take on universal monster mashups of the 40s, with Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, and then House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, and then Abbott and Costello meets everybody, and it's that sort of thing, but born out. Toho Studios did that, obviously, in the 50s and 60s, and in the 70s, with animated shows as well, and loads of other movies. And now Godzilla has been, there's so many offshoots and different interpretations of it, with varying degrees of effects. But what I do admire is that the big fans love it no matter what. But you've got the fans of the original Toho stuff and how that's evolved. And you've got the fans of the new, the Hollywood ones. I mean, I'm playing here Godzilla from 2014. This is Alexander Desplat's score for it, which is actually a wonderful score. Gareth Edwards did it, and he barely showed Godzilla at all, if I remember rightly. I've actually got it. I've got this on Blue somewhere, but I never returned to it. And then you had, what's the next one? I did write this down somewhere. Where is it? Godzilla King of Monsters. I saw probably half of that, and then I was like, I'm not interested. Then Godzilla vs. Kong, I had no interest in whatsoever, so I've not seen that. I believe it's more of a Kong-centric movie, and the trailer for Godzilla Kong is very Kong-centric. But sweet Jesus, where the hell is the baby Kong that comes into it? And you've got the humans are just crap. Should they matter? Should they matter at all? You're watching a great big monster movie blockbuster, and it's a monster movie, not like John Carpenter's The Thing. It's not gory, it's not nasty. You've got stomping big super beasts that are smashing, aircraft carriers and smashing down skyscrapers and breathing fire and punching each other, and I don't know, it's, as I said before, it's like the wrestling stuff, the Mexican wrestling movies, just mixed with monsters, and then blown to outsized proportions. I've got to be honest, Rise of, what's it called? The New Empire. It does nothing for me. It looks preposterous. If you get a kick out of that, because I can believe that it's so stupid, you're having fun with it. If you enjoyed the Toho stuff, you have to have a sense of humour, quite clearly, to watch these idiots rampaging around these little studio sets with little model villages and model tanks and little figures of people. You've got to get it. You've got to have a sense of humour to get it, to enjoy that. And I can see it. I can see how it works. And I can also see how that original idea of Godzilla actually can be brought into, a newer environment, but with better effects, and told with a serious, somber sort of narrative. Now, the original Godzilla, Gojira, go get it, go swigger. Cheers, y'all. That is quite. It's a disaster movie. It's a film on a war footing. It's about mass destruction, and of course, this is what Japan had gone through with the conclusion of World War II and how America took them out. So the rebuild and the angst and the destruction, but done with a sci-fi mythological bent to it. So I get that. And the first movie is actually, it's serious. It then goes ridiculous as the movies go on. And I think that's where my problem lies with the Hollywood versions. Gareth Edwards did a very serious version to begin with. But then it descends into what American popcorn eating drive-in fanboys, I say drive-in, IMAX crowds really now, D-box motion control chairs and what all that shit. This is what they want. It's just popcorn fodder. Monsters, giving it loads, big special effects, big destruction, debris, people screaming and running off. But where's the actual story? Have you got any? There's no story to those new Hollywood movies. There's nothing. There's nothing. And you bring Kong into it. This is what I don't like. Kong is king. And it always will be. For me, it's King Kong 1933, King Kong 76, Peter Jackson's 2000, and I always forget the year of that one. His version. That's it. That's it, really. Wait no more. But it's Kong on his own. Kong doing his thing. You might have other monsters on Skull Island, because of course then you got Kong Skull Island, which of course was part of Hollywood's idea. Right? The Monsterverse. We've got to set up Godzilla. We're going to set up King Kong as well, and we're going to bring them together. Oh, I hated Kong Skull Island. I just thought it was tripe, utter tripe. Some great shots in it, but but so what? Kong was even bigger than ever before, and he couldn't have climbed the World Trade Center. He just stepped on it. He was that stupidly big, and the whole Vietnam allegory, that word. No, it did not. It did not work for me. I thought it was garbage. And of course, we all knew that's bleeding into Godzilla, King Kong coming together. But the Hollywood version of what Toho have been doing for decades. And I didn't like it. I didn't like the direction it was going in. And I don't like King Kong being thrust into the environment. Godzilla is a riff, a Japanese riff on King Kong. A giant beast, a giant monster that has pathos, that has a character, throughout various movies. You know, sometimes he can be an out and out monster. Sometimes he can have a heart and a soul and compassion, and form human bond friendships and all that, and with other monsters too, and even robots, for God's sake. But it was their version of King Kong. Inevitably, you can see that they're gonna cross these two together, and that just doesn't work for me at all. Kong stands alone. Kong fights the beasts on Skull Island, of which there are plenty, you know, and that's all it needs. And then of course he gets his shot, you know, his big chance on Broadway. It doesn't work out so well, does it? Does a bit of sightseeing, but then he falls literally for a blonde. Who hasn't done that? Who has not done that? When you think about King Kong, the original story, it's one of the most bizarre stories ever. You know, young damsel in distress meets a 50-foot gorilla that falls in love with her on some tropical island in the middle of a misty netherworld. And then he gets his shot at stardom, but goes on a kill crazy rampage and ends up crashing and burning, literally. It's such a bizarre story, and yet it captivates you. It does speak to you. You love King Kong. Even the original King Kong, the original is far nastier than any other version. He is an animal. He's a beast, and but he does have a soft spot for Fay Ray. Who wouldn't? But it proves his undoing, obviously. But it's humans who exploit him. Now, the thing about Godzilla was not like that. Godzilla was born of man's exploitation of science and nature and destroying it, but creating something in its place. So Godzilla was a retaliation against, well, you bombed us and you could have caused enormous amounts of mutations with your atomic radiation. Well, here's something for you. But Japan weren't going to send Godzilla over to destroy America because America was boosting up Japan. After destroying it, they were rebuilding it. And the survivor guilt and the trauma, the mass cultural trauma of a nation which went through all of that, they create a monster in the wake, in the ideal of King Kong, a great big outsized monster. It was a giant gorilla for King Kong. It's a giant lizard in this case, but he can breathe fire and he can do all his spines, do all sorts of. There's loads of things he can do. You guys all know this. You're probably all big fans of it. But the cultural relevance of Godzilla to Japan is huge and cannot be diminished. So I get that. So they took the idea of King Kong and then reinvented it for what happened to them and created this huge, literally huge cultural behemoth, which has then gone on for many, many movies, and America's always tried to take that. They've done it with King Kong, they've remade King Kong, they did a sequel to the 76 version, King Kong Lives. Oh dear. And they did it with miniatures and stuff. Oh dear God. It's funny how the film that has the best effects, the best visuals, the most realistic depiction of a giant ape running amok through a jungle and then through a city is in Willis O'Brien's stop motion animation for the original 1933 King Kong. Nothing you've seen since can compare with that. It just doesn't. It never will. Never will. So, Godzilla. Right, well, this is what I'm coming to, because you're going to get on to me you've seen the trailer for this one. Yeah, as I said before, I've seen the trailer for the one coming up next year, the Godzilla Kong New Empire. Oh God, no, I think it looks absolutely awful. I do. I just think it looks total cheeseball, and it's all the things that I didn't like about this Hollywood version from the word go. Pathetic humans who look who are just observing and do nothing, no character whatsoever, and just, you know, the hero shots, that running, that's, what the hell is that? And you got the little baby. Oh no, folks, I don't like it. No, if you do, fine, but it's not for me. However, what is for me, and I mean this, and I did not expect this, was the Godzilla Minus One. I've got no idea. Why is it called Minus One? Will someone please let me know? I've looked at reviews. No one said why it's called Minus One. It may be that obvious to people who are massive fans of Godzilla. Or just, I don't know. Well, I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. Godzilla, is it the temperature? Is it the year before he was meant to have begun? Because it's set in 1945, or at least it starts in 1945, with a kamikaze pilot who kind of, if I got this right, he kind of whips out and doesn't do it, lands on an island with his co-pilot, and then Godzilla will surface up, because you've had the atomic bombs coming down, and Godzilla will rise up, and he destroys the island. But this guy, this pilot, who's going to be the hero of the movie, witnesses all this, and vow, you know, I've got to get back home, got to get back to whatever city it is, and he gets back there, and it's in the wake of all the, you know, Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings. So it's pure wasteland, and I think he's lost his family, but he meets this other girl, and she's looking after a little kid, and they're survivors. It's very, very, very serious from what I can gather, and but Godzilla doesn't care about them. No, you've gone through hell. You know what hell is. Well, I'm going to show you, because I breathe fire. And he gets up there and he starts destroying the city again. Well, what's left of the city. And so, but this guy forms like a community of people who are going to fight back. Ex-army, ex-air force, and just people, you know, he's destroying everything. We've got to fight back. Because he's met him before. They're like, look, certain weapons aren't going to work. And you get like, there is like a fleet of warships and aircraft carriers that go against him, and he will take them down. They'll destroy him, or they think they have, but he regenerates and comes back again. So if I'm giving spoilers here, then, you know, I'm sorry. I've read all this in just basic reviews, so it's all kind of clearly obvious. And but the film is told in a very serious fashion. It's very human focused on character and, as I say, survivor guilt, trauma, relationships building and bonding, and sort of redemption. It's all about that, because they don't like him because he's a kamikaze pilot. And hang on, if you're a kamikaze pilot, how come you're here? Shouldn't you be dead? You know, you failed in your job, did you not? And so he's got to try to redeem himself in front of all these people. So he's got a thing against Godzilla. So they will formulate plans and special weapons and stuff. I don't know. But it does sound amazing, and the trailer makes it look epic on a very small budget. And it's done by Toho Studios as well. Now, there's people out there going, well, and what about the director, Kilt-Man? Yeah, I can't remember his name. I didn't write it down. But the director of this movie is someone who's from the entire Godzilla franchise, the Japanese Toho franchise, who's come back. And you've apparently got in the score, you've actually got Godzilla's score. Gojira's original theme is in there. And those who've seen it, because it came out in October in Japan, and it brought the house down, and people were, well, you'd expect they'd be blown away by it. But it's been shown elsewhere, and it's been reviewed in America already. And every single review that I've seen has been overwhelming in its praise. A tsunami of salutations for it. And having watched that trailer, I thought, shit, you know what? I didn't want to get involved in this Keiju stuff. I'm not asked about this. It's Kong for me. And giant ants and giant spiders. None of this giant reptile stuff and little miniature villages. None of that stuff. That's stupid. And I watched that and I thought, oh my God, that does look really good. Because of its serious tone, and the acting and the performances are meant to be really, really good. So you've not only got the great characters and great story and something that's emotional. I've seen so many people have said, like, I was reduced to tears so many times. Sometimes tears of joy. These are the big Toho fans. Godzilla's original theme comes in there. Godzilla does this, and there's an element there from it reduced me to tears. But the actual human drama and psychological and emotional impact of these characters actually wrought havoc on people's hearts and souls. That's great. But you've also, let's not forget, you've also got massive rampaging bloody dino lizard fire-breathing reptilian behemoth bastard Leviathan causing absolute mayhem, and he's a badass. He's not a good guy. I think I've seen, there's been a few reviews where people say like, this is the first time I've been afraid of Godzilla. Well, that's the point. Shouldn't that be the point? He's a fucking big monster. You don't want him teaming up and being like a tag team with King Kong. Oh, shut up. Stupid. You know. So, he's a big monster. He stomps on cities. He knocks buildings down. He destroys tanks. He breathes fire. He's not your friend. For God's sake. You know. So I like the idea of that. And there's genuine dread when you see him, and he's squashing as he's stomping down streets. He's squashing hundreds of people as he's doing it, bringing buildings down. He is a badass swine, and he's on a vengeance kick as well. So yeah, folks, the Monsterverse can go and suck eggs, but the Toho revitalization of Godzilla, yeah, I'm actually on board for that. I really am. So I'm gonna see Godzilla Minus One, and I will report back on it. See, it comes out here in this country this week. I think we're on Monday now. It might be Friday. I think it's the end of the week. But if I can find a little press showing out, because sometimes I do get invited to these. If I put it out there that I want to see this movie, I might get a wee invite. But I'm interested. I'm genuinely interested in that. So you guys have actually inadvertently, you've actually got me into the bit of kaiju, which I didn't expect to do, but only because of Godzilla Minus One, not because of Godzilla X Factor, Kong and blah 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 blah. Because that looks so, it looks bad. And here's the other thing as well. Toho with this Godzilla Minus One have done it on comparatively a shoestring budget, and yet it looks incredible. It looks really, really good. And then you see that yes, there's massively 100 million more millions thrown into the Hollywood legendary version, but it's just posy ass crap that you've seen a million times. That running thing is so bad. It's ludicrous. And it's just, the big impact shots and all that, like, you've seen it since CGI first came in, and then it reached its zeitgeist, and then it's gone right downhill again now. Oh, it's accomplished, but it's posy ass crap. It's like 80s mullets, but just done with like debris flying everywhere. It does look like the horrendous stuff of Transformers. Is that Michael Bay? I always forget. Michael Bay and Transformers. Well, fucking load of old tripe. But I've got a feeling that a lot of people who like these legendary movies are into the Transformers as well. I cannot justify any love for the Transformers movies at all. I can't. unless Japan makes a super serious version of Transformers, and suddenly I'll be like, oh my god, Transformers -1. And I'll be like, oh wow, it works, it's got me already. Cheers, y'all. So, yeah. A lot of you guys will be massively into this stuff. And I know I've gone round the houses and I've pissed scorn on one side of it. In fact, on a lot of it, to be honest. The original's great. What followed up was pantomime. Oh, lumbering, sumos. Oh, God. What the hell? What the actual fuck is that all about? But decades later on, and you've had the whole thing reevaluated, reimagined, and massive cash injections, and Kong thrown in. I know we met him before in the 50s. I know. But I wasn't happy with that either. I'm not happy with this crossover now. But, it's good that Japan is still coming back with their own more original and faithful versions. So I'm for -1. The other one can, I don't know. So long as you guys enjoy it, that's the main thing. That's the main thing. But don't go expecting me to go and watch that. It looks awful, I'll be honest. And it is a weird thing for you. If I'm repeating myself, I do apologise. I might be repeating myself. When I reviewed the Furiosa Mad Max saga, only recently, the trailer, and then did my big sort of review of what I think could happen and all the background to Furiosa and Fury Road and all that. And I was saying that a lot of American sites or American originated sites, anyone who could join these forums and whatever, but you can see where they're from. And I could see quite clearly that Americans were not liking the Furiosa trailer at all and were slamming it for a variety of reasons. But people in the UK, on UK forums and sites, people I know from the UK, were loving it. There was no naysayers. They were all pro Furiosa, where the Americans appeared to be, well, far less so. There weren't that many people going, oh yeah. And if you looked on, where the ones who were going, like, yeah, it looks great to me. Where you're based, the UK. So you know what I mean. Now for Godzilla -1, American reviews, American people who've seen it on forums, and British people who've seen it and are massively into it, everybody is celebrating -1. People who've seen the trailer are loving it, and yet in the UK and in America, here's the thing for you. Here's the rub, folks. People in America on all these other forums and sites, and people in the UK on the forums and sites, seem to be universally taking the piss out of the Godzilla Kong New Empire, saying it looks garbage, it looks stupid, it's pure waffle, and God, it looks like, well, yeah, we'll just go and look on the forums. Obviously, the proof's in the pudding. Go and watch the film yourself. Don't listen to other people. Obviously, don't ever listen to me. Jesus, what do I know? I haven't seen either of them. But I'll make you this promise. I'm going to see Godzilla -1. I'm going to see that. And I'll be totally honest. If it works, it works for me. And if it doesn't, then I'll highlight the things that don't work. But looking at that trailer and looking at the overwhelming surge of praise, I haven't seen that amount of praise for anything for a long time. I simply haven't. Even like Furiosa, film I'm looking forward to, has split the camp completely. But doesn't matter where you're geographically situated, everybody loves the trailer or the film itself, those who've seen it, for Godzilla -1. Well, I'm going to do it. And they've praised the soundtrack too, which at the time of this video, I could have got the soundtrack, but I haven't done it as yet. But apparently it's outstanding as well. So, anyway, folks, please comment below and let me know what you think of Godzilla and this whole American offshoot and the original Toho movies. And look, you're not going to sway me either way. I'm not going to go back and watch all the originals. I'm not going to do that. And I definitely do not want to watch the Monsterverse stuff, because I think it's garbage. I think it's absolute garbage. And so I'm sorry about that. But if you guys have fun with it, oh great! I really hope you do enjoy these movies, and because no one wants to go and see a movie and despise it. You know, it can be fun sometimes, but no one wants to make a bad movie. But you know the template that Hollywood works towards, and Hollywood's the worst thing for it. The Toho studios are not like that. They make crowd pleasers. They always did do. That's what they try to do. They strive to make what the people want. Hollywood makes what they think people want, because they bombard them with tripe and garbage, CG overload, and really narratively lacking, ridiculous fucking, franchise fillers. But dickheads will go along the multiplex and we'll be there opening weekend and it'll make money. Let's do another one quickly. The suits will get around the table, the committee table. Let's do another one quickly. Get it fast track now. Come on, get it green lit. Come on. So there's a sequel announced within 2 weeks 2 days of the first film coming out, and this is what they do. And it's the American business model, Hollywood business model it's ridiculous. It's flawed right from the word go. Right at a bloody DNA level, their business model is flawed and corrupt. But they won't learn, because they keep making money. And dickheads will keep on going to see these movies because they've got nothing else. And the trailer come out, I'm so blown away by this. I'll be there day one. I'll be getting the 4K Steelbook. Oh, fuck off. It's just get a life, will you? Watch the film first. But they're blinded. So, Godzilla and a huge diatribe against the Hollywood machine. It is what it is, folks. And we love movies. We live and breathe movies, don't we? That's why we're here, for God's sake. But we've got to have differing opinions. So, no one's going to persuade me to get into the legendary movies. They're not going to do it, because I've seen them. Well, I gave up on one of them, certainly. But I'm not going to do it. But I've got a feeling that if I if I'm on board with Godzilla Minus One, like I think I'm going to be, it might make me revisit the original and maybe have a little look at some of the later ones, because they've been making them. I think stuff came out last year as well, like Toho style, but with bigger, better effects and all that. I might look at that. I won't go back to the animated Godzilla and Godzuki, the little. Anyway, folks, there you go. I have been always Shabby Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, in this ever fire-breathing, miniature building, stomping, in between time, please keep it Celtic, and I'm going to see you all. Don't care what anyone says, King Kong rules. King Kong is where it's at. Just leave him on his own. Don't mix him with Frankenstein's monster, or a werewolf, or a robot. Don't do any of that. Leave Kong alone. Leave him on Skull Island. He's happier there, trust me. Little some little blondes once in a while. Who's not happy with that?